So we had an awesome kickoff to the New Japan G1 Climax 30 taking place here in September of 2020. Yes, that's right. If you're listening to this in the future or the past, I guess you can only listen to it in the future. It is taking place in September, which is not the usual time for the G1. The G1 usually takes place mid-July to mid-August, usually, but it got pushed because of the Olympics this year. So it was already going to be in September, and then COVID happened, and it happened to work out because that would probably be an issue if it had been originally scheduled for July. So I guess it worked out. I think next year they're probably going to get it pushed again to September because they're hoping to do the Olympics in Japan next year as well, but we will see how that all plays out. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. My name is Eric. Thanks for watching That's Wrestling. Today we are going to be covering nights 1 and 2 of the G1 here in 2020. If you're listening to this as a podcast, be sure to head over to the YouTube channel, which you can find in the show notes, and make sure you subscribe over there. And if you click the bell notification, that will let you know when I schedule a live stream. That's very important when it comes to New Japan shows because they're all over the place. So there's really no set schedule. And we usually do AEW Dynamite reviews the night after the show airs, usually at 7 p.m. Eastern. So usually Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you have any comments, questions, feedback, all that fun stuff, you can send them to eric@thatswrestling.com. Head over to iTunes, give us a review. And tonight I have back in the chair once again, Trae Wisecarver. How's it going, man?
I'm a box of fluffy ducks. Eric, how are you?
I am not doing too bad. What did you think how the G1 has started off so far this year?
Man, I think the G1 started off pretty freaking phenomenal. You know, two really good shows and nice compact shows because we're only doing one Young Lions match instead of those desultory tag matches every night.
I am hoping so much that the future G1s are this way. They might do one, possibly two undercards, and then just do the block matches because there's 5 block matches every night. I don't need a 3-hour show. I don't need 20 3-hour shows in the span of 30 days.
That's the one thing that the silver lining to pandemic pro wrestling is a lot shorter, easy to watch, easier to digest shows from especially New Japan and like WWE pay-per-views that have gone from 4 hours to a nice tight 2:30. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, it's been really good. All right, so let's just get into it. The first night, I forgot to write down where it was in Osaka, I believe.
It was in Osaka. Both of these nights were at the Edion Arena, Osaka.
All right, and then so we start off the night with Uemora versus Yota Tsuji. These two plus Gabriel Kidd are going to be in every opening match. A combination of those three in every opening match in this run. So these guys are going to get the ring time. And really, I say don't miss out on the Young Lion opening matches because you are seeing who is going to be the future of New Japan. And I pretty much guarantee you that most Young Lion matches at the beginning of the G1 are going to be better than the vast majority of matches that you'll see in a lot of other places.
New Japan Young Lion with 2 years experience is fundamentally a better pro wrestler than probably, what do we think, 70% of the wrestlers on Earth?
Probably.
75?
Yeah. They don't let
these
them...
guys are phenomenal, and they're going to get better.
Yeah, they don't let them go out there until they are ready to go out there. They are very strict about everything that they do. There are protocols on how they develop these talent and everything that they have to do as a Young Lion. These are the people who really, really want to be there, and all they do 24 hours a day for the time that they're there is pretty much eat, breathe, sleep wrestling. And getting worked over quite a lot. So here we have a really good set of mat wrestling in the beginning. We have a good hard hitting slap battle. Uemora puts on the full crab, and Tsuji manages to Tsuji almost gets to the rope, but he pulls him back into the middle, cranks it back into more of a lion tamer, and Tsuji has to tap out. So Uemora here in Block C gets his first 2 points.
Surely somebody is keeping score, right?
Rocky Romero probably is, because he mentioned it in the commentary.
I did not hear the English commentary. I watched both of these live, so I've seen both shows. Have not heard the English commentary.
I watched the first show. I watched the first show in Japanese, and then I watched the second one in English.
It was the weekend, and it's live. There's a show tonight, and I'm not sure what time it starts.
I think it's 4 a.m. my time, at least. So it'd be 3 a.m. for you. So all in all, good Young Lion match here. Then we move into the first block match, and we have the return of Will Ospreay. And if his face wasn't holding it together, his smile would have blown past his face because he was so happy to be there. He's wearing the Rev Pro British Championship belt. It's been so long, I forgot he was even the champion over there.
He won it on Valentine's Day, which is a couple of weeks before the world shut down.
Right. So here, Will Ospreay, he is smiling ear to ear. He yells out to the crowd. Everybody is into seeing him once again. He shows off that he has put on some size here, and then he shows that it has not hampered all of his flips and high-speed movement. Early on, Will Ospreay, the story is Will Ospreay hasn't wrestled at all during the pandemic, and Yujiro has actually been wrestling regularly since the beginning of June. So really, Yujiro got a ton of this match. Ospreay does turn it around a little bit, but Yujiro hits a Miami Shine for a near fall, attempts a pimp juice, but Ospreay ends up landing on his feet, then hits Stormbreaker for the win.
Yujiro, a recipient of the coveted COVID push. He's my favorite thing about listening to the Japanese commentary is hearing him say Tokyo Pimps.
Those are the things that you can take out a few English words here and there that they use. It's pretty funny.
Miami Shine. I've always loved that. This is probably the best 8-minute match you're ever going to see. I think this is Yujiro's best singles match since 2014 when he lost the Never title back to Tomohiro Ishii. This was awesome way to kick off the tournament. You knew that Will was just going to be itching to go, and then they tore it up here.
After the match, Ospreay picks up the mic, says that he's home. He says that he was nervous before coming out, but then he looked in the mirror and said to himself, "You're Will Ospreay. What are you nervous about? You are the best wrestler in the world. G1 is about being the one, and you are looking at him." And he goes on his merry way. So solid start here for Will Ospreay, and definitely going to be a interesting G1, especially last year with his Best of the Super Juniors and G1 performance, getting multiple 5-star matches out of various people. It should be a good one to see how it goes this year.
Yeah, he's wrestling Okada on the last night of group matches, and they wrestled last year, and that is legitimately just athletically in the top 2 or 3 matches I've ever seen.
All right, then we have a returning more Gaijin talent. We have Jeff Cobb. Does he look like he lost a little bit of weight? Don't know.
I I didn't really notice a difference. He's so agile. Man, he's so agile.
I know. For his size, it's insane. So we have Jeff Cobb versus Taichi here. We have a little bit of back and forth here in the beginning. Taichi rolls to the outside, but Cobb gives chase. And the thing that drives me freaking crazy, Taichi grabs the ring bell hammer and hits Cobb in the knee a few times right in front of the ref. The ref, there was no attempt to distract at all. He just hit him twice, and I don't remember who the ref was, and they're just like, you shouldn't do that, and that just drives me crazy when there's like no attempt to even pull the ref for this type of spot.
Yeah, that's the most frustrating thing about New Japan, is that they have educated you to just think the refs are idiots, and it's it's one of those things that is going to take a long-term re-educating the fan base under the next booking regime.
Yeah, because I mean, what is the point? It makes the person who isn't cheating look like a moron, because if cheating has no consequences, then why doesn't everybody just do it? If you're gonna get whacked with a ring hammer, then hit the guy with a chair or something. Nothing's gonna happen to you.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the stories of the summer during the LIJ versus Bullet Club feud, where Kevin Kelly was finally just, you're gonna have to, like, you can't do it the honorable way. You're gonna have to fight fire with fire when it comes to Bullet Club.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing with the cheating. Everybody else is gonna cheat. You're an idiot if you're not cheating.
Yeah, so he smacks him in the knee with the hammer. Taichi continues to work on the knee for a little bit. He rakes his eyes. They go back and forth. They get into a striking exchange. Cobb hitting forearms with Taichi reciprocating with thrust kicks. So we had a forearm kick, forearm kick, forearm kick. Cobb drops Taichi with a forearm, and then Taichi kind of makes this desperation high kick, and we have a double down here, so we're kind of resetting our position. Cobb hits a brainbuster, and then a standing moonsault for a 2 count. Taichi pushes the ref, but it actually didn't help, as Cobb ended up hitting him with a Superman punch instead. Then Taichi hits a kick to the back of the head, and then we get yet another double down here. Cobb hits this great gut wrench suplex, a bunch of them, and then Taichi escapes a Tour of the Islands attempt, hits a couple more kicks, hits Black Mephisto, and picks up the win. So basically a clean win over Jeff Cobb, as any of the cheating was either early or didn't play into the finish.
Yeah, but you can't really evaluate, who slotted where based on G1 wins and losses, because all kinds of stuff happened. I thought this was going to go the other way. This was my first of several missed picks tonight. But, on the scale of Taichi singles matches, this was, pretty tolerable.
Yeah, this was definitely on the better side, just because there wasn't as much cheating other than the ring hammer. He attempted to cheat, but it backfired on him, which I'm fine with if that happens more often. But all in all,
Jeff Cobb.
Yeah, go for it.
Jeff Cobb is like he is somebody who could be a really unique character and performer in pro wrestling, just because he's so big, but he's so agile. He's like, he can suplex people like Scott Steiner, but he can do all this other stuff. And I had an idea, and this may be a dumb idea. It is a dumb idea. Okay, the Keiji Muto had the Great Muta, his alter ego, and Jushin Liger had Kishin Liger on occasion. We need for the big grudge matches when Jeff Cobb, because I like Jeff Cobb, but he's just, he's Mr. Athletic. He's a sportsman. He's an Olympic wrestler. If it comes to be a time where you've got to fight fire with fire, like we said, do you think that they could acquire the rights to Matanza?
That could be interesting. I'm not sure. I doubt it.
I didn't think so.
So let's go with no, they can't. All right. So yeah, all in all, I thought it was good, and we will see how this plays out for Jeff Cobb, because dropping early to Taichi, not a good outlook. I'm curious how Taichi is going to do in this as well.
I think Jeff Cobb is signed now. He had said earlier this year that he had signed somewhere, but he just didn't want to say where until it was announced, and then there was a shutdown. But finally, the fact that, and I heard just kind of in passing that because of the pandemic, the foreign talent that just went to Japan are going to be there at least like 3 months, which kind of, if you think about it, you know, a good way to plan it out because they'll be there through Wrestle Kingdom. But I think that points to Jeff Cobb being signed by New Japan. Meltzer said you remember he had the match with Moxley in AEW earlier this year that Cobb likely turned down AEW to sign with New Japan. That's his goal. He wanted to work in New Japan, and as a hardcore New Japan fan, hey, more power to him. But I think Cobb is signed, and I don't think that we should write Cobb out of the tournament based on losing to Taichi here, because Taichi is, you know, they've got the tag titles and the program with Tanahashi and Ibushi. Taichi is a push guy right now, so yeah. Let's see how this plays out before we start saying woe is Jeff Cobb.
Yes, he is signed over in New Japan, and I'm not surprised that they'll have to stay. They're going to be staying over for 3 months or so. It would make sense because they have to quarantine for 2 weeks before they can even leave their hotel. So it'd be kind of a waste if they were only there and then had to leave again, because then they wouldn't be doing anything in the run up to Wrestle Kingdom. And I'm curious how that's going to work out. Are people going to actually have to be over there and quarantine through Christmas? Because they'd actually have to get there a few days before Christmas to actually get that 2 weeks in before Wrestle Kingdom happens.
Okay, I wonder if, and there may be like a few more, but I wonder if this is just going to be the main foreign crew, which they may bring in some of the other guys for the next tour after the G1 is over. But like, I think as far as top foreign talent, this is probably it for Wrestle Kingdom because of the situation. Not going to get Chris Jericho, not going to get John Moxley.
Right.
But
actually, let me add that to my notes here so we can talk about it. And we'll get there later. But yeah, like I'm just looking and we got Will Ospreay. He lives there anyways. The only reason he wasn't there is he headed back to the UK when the pandemic hit. Just because he didn't know what the restrictions were going to be or if he'd even be kicked out of the country to begin with. But he's lived there for like the past year. Zack Sabre Jr., he has been there the whole time. He never left. Jay White, he was in the US, but he pretty much lives in Japan anyways. So he kind of got caught here, I think. Juice Robinson, I believe he's Canadian. So he might.
No, Juice is from Chicago.
Juice is from Chicago. I thought he was Canadian for some reason. Why did I think he was Canadian? Anyways, Juice, I'm not sure what he's been signed with New Japan for quite a while, so he's pretty much been living over there, so it's probably not a huge deal for him to stay. Kenta, same thing. He's Japanese, but he's been living in the US, but
yeah, he lives in Florida, I think.
Yeah, he lives in Florida. And then Zack Sabre, yeah, he's stayed there. So yeah, as far as the foreign talent who are released in the G1, most of them have either were living there full time anyways, or with Kenta, he's a native but was living here, so he's just staying there. I'm assuming he has family and stuff in Japan, so it's probably not a huge deal for him to stay there. All right, so let's move on here. We have one of the hardest hitting matches that I have seen for quite a while. And this even goes past a couple of the earlier matches that he was in. Minoru Suzuki, that is Murder Grandpa, he and Tomohiro Ishii had one heck of a battle here. And this, I think, definitely surpassed him and Nagata in the New Japan Cup. They start off with a slap battle, and they just beat the crap out of each other. They go onto the outside to a point, and Suzuki has some fun with the barricades, back into the ring. They trade like 20 forearms each. Suzuki pulls Ishii into a sit position and hits like 3 PKs in a row. Ishii kind of catches the last one. He makes his way to his feet. And then Ishii just throws a bomb of a forearm, and they have a double down here. And then We have some rope running spots where they're constantly chasing each other and clotheslining each other and shoulder blocking each other. We have another double down. They stand up and headbutt each other like 10 times back and forth. They slap the crap out of each other some more. Ichii hits a backpack pile driver, which I don't think I've seen. It's a dead eyes, but with a sit instead of landing on his knees. So that was pretty crazy. Then Suzuki hits some of the loudest forearms I have ever heard and seen. They have a bit more of a back and forth here until Suzuki hits a gotch style pile driver and gets the win. This match was awesome.
Oh man. Eric, if you think too much about it, it might start to seem strange just how much joy that I get out of watching two middle-aged Japanese men forearm each other in the face at 4 a.m.
Those shots, I don't know how he gets those so loud. Like, I'm always looking to see if he slaps his leg or something on some of these. No, it's the forearm contacting the other dude that is making the sound.
This, I'm not a violent person. I'm not a person that wants to fight, but man, do I love watching two MFers who love to fight each other. Yeah. And this was awesome.
This was exactly the match that you would expect out of these two. They are both brawlers and strikers. Obviously, Ishii is in constant pain at this point. He's got knee problems and neck problems and all types of stuff, so he can't do tons of quick and high spots, but he can throw hands and take hands all day long.
Yeah.
This is probably go for it.
In any other company, this probably would have been match of the night.
Yeah, go figure. And there's still more to come, but super hard-hitting match. Suzuki here getting the victory. How did you have Suzuki coming out in your bracket? High up?
I have Suzuki doing very well and just missing the final.
Yeah, this start is probably a good indication that you might be onto something on that one. Next up, we had Shingo Takagi versus Jay White with Gedo at ringside. So we get confirmation here that Gedo is basically going to second Jay White still. Whereas
you still ride with the thing he says, and I still with that switchblade.
Yeah. So Gedo is still going to be with Jay White, and as we found out the next night, Evil is going to be seconded by Dick Togo going on here. So I'm guessing there's going to be some internal strife at some point between the two of these guys, but so far they are not going to cross paths, at least this month. So Shingo Takagi versus Jay White here. Jay White shows off how good he looks. He is ripped more than usual, it looks like. And he pulls the same old powdering. As soon as the bell rings, he drops to his knees and rolls out of the ring. They have a little back and forth in the ring until Shingo sends Jay White to the outside. Then on the outside, Jay White slams Shingo into the barricade a bunch of times that he likes to do, going back and forth between the barricade and the ring. Though this time is like 3 into the barricade and then 1 into the ring. He works over his back a bit, and then later on, Shingo ends up returning the favor, running Jay White into the edge of the ring on the outside as well. They have a lot of back and forth here. Gedo goes for a distraction, but it doesn't really pay off. White ends up hitting the Kiwi Crusher for a 2 count later on. Shingo hits a Made in Japan for a 2 count. Gedo interferes again, but it once again fails, with Shingo being able to hit a pumping bomber, and then he picks up Jay White, and White's foot swings around and hits Red Shoes, so Red Shoes goes down. Shingo hits another Made in Japan, but there is no ref, so Jay White hits a low blow. The ref comes to, rolls into the ring. Jay White hits Blade Runner and gets the victory. So one thing I did like here, very similar to Taichi is the cheating that went on as far as Gedo's part all got foiled by Shingo. It didn't come out to play in their favor, but Jay White does still cheat in the end with the low blow to hit the Blade Runner and pick up the victory.
Shingo does just the straight punch that's so beautiful. It's just one of the times when he just decked Gedo with that punch. It was
that jab. I love that jab from him.
Jay White is like psychologically one of the best guys in the business. Shingo Takagi is such a phenomenal performer. This match ruled so hard, man. That the near fall off of the Made in Japan was like so close. That's the thing. These New Japan matches, these guys are the best at doing really believable near falls. Like it's been a thing in American wrestling for years. You know, half the time during a near fall, you're watching a guy watch the ref so he knows when to kick out.
Yeah.
Not only do these guys not do that, they time their kick out so well that it's like, even, you know, you have, you know, young lions getting near falls on veterans, and it's so believable because they do it so close. And just these, I'm amazed that like they don't have more mistakes and finishes because of how close they cut into some of these near falls. And then Takagi got a visual pinfall over Jay White when the ref got bumped, right? So
yep.
I thought I had Shingo pulling off an opening night upset. That didn't happen. But man, this was an awesome match.
And Jay White's look continues to improve with him growing the bigger beard, especially when he originally grew the goatee for last year's G1. I think that made him look a lot better than the baby face, shaven baby face look that he came into New Japan with. Like when he came in originally, I'm like, this look just does not work for the character that he's playing. And then last year, when he added the goatee, and now he's got a pretty long one going, I think the look definitely more suits the character that he's playing, and he's definitely come into his own and kind of found his voice when it comes to New Japan being a heel. He continues to do some of the same things here. He powders early, gets out of the ring really fast to kind of put a little bit of a hamper on any momentum his opponent may have developed or wants to, and kind of takes things down to his level to slow things down, which is a classic heel tactic, and I think it works out really well for him. And yeah, that the near falls are great, though Red Shoes does have a little bit of a tell when the finish is, which is, you see it, it's not fun. So it takes it out a little bit, but it is what it is. All in all, again, a really, really good match. Good way to continue on the night. Any more on that one?
Nah, man, just you know, Jay White is like a freaking phenomenal wrestler athletically, and he's so good in terms of crowd psychology that you don't even think of him as being a great athletic worker, which he is.
Yeah, he talks so much, which the stuff that he says is just hilarious because it's like so self-centered a lot of the time, and like preposterous, I guess, is some of the things that he says sometimes, which is just great. It just makes it that much better.
Such a phenomenal prick.
And then we had the final match of the evening, which was Kota Ibushi versus Kazuchika Okada. This again was a solid match. I did not actually write down a ton about this match because there weren't a lot of high spots. It was really a ton of back and forth. They exchange holds early. Ibushi eats a DDT on the floor at one point. Ibushi escapes a few money clip attempts. And then he actually hits a lion salt to the floor at one point. And then going near the end of the match, Ibushi almost blows a top rope springboard Rana. he like jumped up. He's on the top rope. He has his hand on Okada's shoulder to try to he's like swinging his arm to steady himself, and he's like, screw it, I'm just jumping. He jumps. He barely gets his feet over Okada's shoulders, but it worked out in the end. He did not die. So they do that. Okada hits a tombstone, and then they egg each other on in the striking exchange, starting on their knees. They work their way up until Ibushi drops Okada with a massive forearm. And then Ibushi fights out of another money clip attempt. This one goes on a bit longer. And then they hit drop kicks on each other. He hits a few kicks. And then Ibushi hits the Bomaye and then the Kamigoya. And then pins Okada for the victory, picking up his 2 points of the evening.
I thought this match was amazing. It was not quite the level of their match in January, but that match was the main event of Wrestle Kingdom, so of course it was phenomenal. They wrestled in the G1 last year. It was another great match. I think if I remember right, like I think maybe in my head this one's a step ahead of that. This was just so these two, Kota Ibushi and Kazuchika Okada, for my money are, you know, Ibushi is like the most athletic person on the planet. He has better balance standing on the top rope than I do laying flat on my back. Okay, and the two spots that I want to bring up is one, the Frankensteiner it was terrifying because he springboards and then he loses his footing. You can see it, but he just does the slight adjustment and then just Jesus take the wheel. He just jumps up and it just barely like. If you look at it, it's not a good-looking Frankensteiner, but the fact that they pulled it off and nobody died was amazing.
Yeah, like Okada, he had to grip those feet to make sure that he continued to rotate, or else he would have gone straight down on his head. It was a bit of a scary spot, but he did it. Yeah, Ibushi is definitely one of the most athletic guys in the company, though he does throw caution to the wind quite often, and I can't believe he's still walking half the time that he lands on his head so often. So that always bothers me or scares me. For the most part, that was kind of the only crazy spot in this entire match, which is probably why I didn't write down a whole lot, because it was a lot of good back and forth. Just really basic wrestling for the most part out of these guys. The one spot that Okada always does, though, the backpack cradling the head neck breaker that he does, that one always scares me, especially with a guy like Ibushi. Especially Ibushi is deceptively huge. He is a big guy compared to a lot of the I'm surprised he was in the 205, the Cruiserweight Classic, a few years ago. It's like, there's no way he's 205 pounds. But he's built like a tank. He is jacked, so hopefully he does a lot of exercise to maintain those muscles around his neck.
I have a picture with him and he looks tiny, but that's because I'm very large. Yeah, I didn't really write anything down about this match other than the finish, because I think it was 5 a.m. by this time for me. But so the spots that I remember are from memory, and we talked about the Frankensteiner. The other one, okay, Okada, best drop kick in wrestling, but think about how he usually sets it up. It's a lot of distance, it's timed well, it's really impressive, but it's a lot of space. He creates a lot of space to do it properly. Toward the end of the match, Ibushi goes for the Kamigoye. Now think about the space in the Kamigoye. He's grabbing the guy by the arms and pulling him up to knee him in the face. In that space, Okada counters the Kamigoye with a drop kick. And it was so freaking awesome.
He actually did that.
Yeah.
He actually did that same counter before.
Okay, yeah, I probably lost my mind over it then and just don't remember it. But yeah, blew my mind all over again.
Yeah,
so awesome.
He's done that really tight counter before. I think he's done it with. I think he did it with Ibushi at Wrestle Kingdom. That was one of the spots. But he's also done that tight one with who was it? I think it might have been with Naito, when Naito had like a double down and Naito was holding on to Okada's wrist, and when he pulled him up, that's when he did that like pop-up drop kick as well. So that's a very cool, that tight tight space dropkick that he does. But here again, we finish off night one on solid footing. So we have Kota Ibushi here with 2 points. We have Jay White with 2 points, Suzuki with 2 points, Taichi with 2 points, and Will Ospreay with 2 points to start off the A block here. Going into... Sorry, go ahead.
Me at 2 and 3.
And you what?
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Going into night 2 on September 20th, we start off with Gabriel Kidd and Yota Tsuji as the opening here. Decent back and forth match here. No huge spots, and in the end, Tsuji this time submits Kidd with the Boston Crab. If I remember correctly, he was. So Kidd was almost got to the ropes, and Tsuji starts thrusting his hips forward and dragging him back into the center. And this is when Kidd has to tap out. So Tsuji taps out the night before, and then he taps out Kidd the night after.
I think of the current crop of young lions, Yota Tsuji is the one that I am most anticipating what he's going to turn into. Because Yuya Uemura, I think, is going to be a phenomenal junior heavyweight, and I kind of hope that he ends up taking over the mantle as Tiger Mask. But Tsuji he's bigger, he's got that heavyweight frame, and he moves well. He's got that training, and they've said before that he wants to go to Mexico on his excursion and learn lucha. So a heavyweight that fundamentally good with kind of a lucha base, I think Yota Tsuji is going to be a really fascinating wrestler in 5 years.
Yeah, I'm curious what happens to Shota Umino as well.
Yeah. Well, he kind of got screwed around on his excursion during all this, right?
So, all right. The first block match of the evening is Yoshi-Hashi versus Juice Robinson making his way back. We have yet again another new look for Juice. Bit of a Blues Brother vibe here. He's got the fedora and the jacket with a tie and a button-up shirt. Of course, the sleeves are tattered and cut up, but all in all, it is what it is. He's got longer hair now, so he's got the shaved sides and the slicked back hair. He's rocking just a soul patch now, not the porn stash that he did have prior to the pandemic. All in all, I think this is the look Juice should stick with. I think this is where he looks the best.
Yeah, I like how he removed the Blues Brothers entrance attire to reveal the Billy Kidman wrestling attire.
Yep.
The black short pants and white wife beater. Man, this match was better than I think almost anybody expected, and that's because people don't put enough respect on Yoshi-Hashi's name, because he had his work boots on on this night, and they went 16 hard minutes and just had a really freaking good match.
Yeah, it was a really good match. They start off with some chain wrestling. They get into an exchange of suplexes back and forth. Yoshi-Hashi hits some nice drop kicks. We have an escape from a juice box attempt. Yoshi-Hashi avoids a suplex, a superplex, and he slides under and takes Juice out and hits him with a running power bomb. Juice then escapes a karma attempt, but then eats a thrust kick and a brainbuster for a 2 count. Then Yoshi-Hashi puts on the butterfly lock, which he has been using as a finisher for since last year's G1, actually, I think is when he started using it heavily, and tapped out quite a few people. Here they fight for position, though. Juice manages to stand up. Yoshi-Hashi doesn't let him go, though. He hits him with a backstabber and then a senton for a near fall. Juice hits some elbows to drop Yoshi-Hashi for a double down. Then they exchange attacks for a bit until Juice Robinson can hit a juice box. Yoshi-Hashi kicks out at 2, and then he almost gets a roll-up win as he rolls Juice out of a Pulp Friction attempt. Juice ends up hitting a right hand and then the left hand of God hits the Pulp Friction and picks up the victory. I thought this was solid. I like the little desperation spot between the juice box and the final Pulp Friction, where he got out of the first Pulp Friction attempt, rolling that into a attempted pin, but in the end it didn't help, and he ends up eating one a couple seconds later.
There's multiple guys in New Japan who have a special punch that they really make mean a lot, and one that I missed so much was the left-handed God, and he just did right hand, and Yoshi-Hashi kind of rocked, and then just bam, left-handed God, and Pulp Friction. Man, it was great to see Juice back, great to see Yoshi-Hashi working hard. This was a very, very good match.
Yeah, this is probably one of the this is definitely on the high end for Yoshi-Hashi, I think, for match quality. This is probably one of the better ones that I've seen him in quite a while. I'm wondering how his knee is holding up, though, after the New Japan Cup.
Oh, well, the whole storyline has been that he, and I really like that, too, that the idea that he barely missed having his knee injured, and it kind of, the way that Kevin Kelly kept saying it over the course of the summer was he's playing with house money. He had a near miss, and he's got a chance. He's just got some extra energy, got some extra oomph. He's riding a wave of momentum, got his first championship, and I just love, even in the G1, man, here comes Yoshi-Hashi, and he has this never open weight 6-man tag title on. He's so proud of it.
Yeah, so it was the knee injury a shoot or a work?
I think it was a shoot, but it was not as bad as they thought it was going to be.
Yeah, because originally they were like, after it happened, they were like, this could be career ending. Like he tore his PT and ACL all in the same shot.
Yeah, but it was Yo and Yoshi-Hashi who got injured around the same time.
Yep.
And Yo ended up, he's going to be out for a period of time. And then Yoshi-Hashi was like, oh, well, he missed, like, I think he might have missed, a show or two, but I guess it wasn't as bad as they thought it was. He's been wrestling on it all summer and having the run of his career so far.
Yeah, it must have just been a weird strain or something that just, yeah. All right, we go into the come down match here, I guess you can call it. Sanada versus Toru Yano. This, I think, was on the high end of my enjoyment of a Yano match here. We have, before the match even starts, the ref finds 2 rolls of tape in Yano's knee pads. And then when they get into Sanada having a waist lock, he alerts the ref, I can feel another roll of tape here, and he has another roll of tape down his trunks. So he is just like pulling tape out of everywhere. Yano, of course, grabs the turnbuckle at one point, and they end up having a fight with turnbuckle pads. There was actually, so after the first turnbuckle, Sanada uses the rolling cradle, and they roll around the ring a bunch of times, and Yano is like crazy dizzy. He flops out of the ring. He starts walking up the entrance aisle, grabs a chair from the crowd, and sits down to kind of let the dizziness wear off. So he sits out there for basically the entire 20 count and makes it in at 19 3/4. They have a fight with the turnbuckle pads. Sanada ends up getting sent into the exposed turnbuckle at one point. They fight on the outside, heading up towards the entrance, and he puts Yano in the Paradise Lock up near the entrance. And he starts walking away. He's going to get himself a count-out victory by leaving Yano out there like he did to Rocky Romero a couple years ago in a match. And then one of the young lions actually tips over Yano. So Sanada is like, what the heck is this guy doing? So he goes, I think it was Yota. Was it Tsuji who was the young lion?
Uemora.
Yeah, Uemora. There we go. It was Uemora on the outside, and Sanada's like, "What are you doing?" So he goes, he knocks down Uemora, starts to put him in the Paradise Lock, and he's struggling. And while this is happening, Yano has another roll of tape. He tapes Sanada's leg to Uemora, and he didn't notice, so and then he runs back to the ring. They're already at like 14 by the time Yano runs at the ring, and Sanada cannot get back to the ring because he is now taped to the young lion, and Yano gets a victory over Sanada on the first night.
That was a very entertaining match. It was like the finish that Yano did with Moxley and Shota Umino last year. But you forgot the biggest talking point coming out of this match. Sanada got a haircut.
I didn't even notice that. I noticed the new gear that he had. He had a new silver mask and the new coat and whatnot, and he's not wearing the swashbuckling. He always looked like a pirate to me, those blue pants with the but now
watching it live, all anybody was talking about was pretty Sanada. A lot of people convinced that because he got a haircut and some new gear, he's winning the tournament. So
all right, we'll see how that goes. But no,
winning a lot of matches, so
I did not notice that. I didn't even notice, is he still rocking the gnome chin strap beard?
I don't remember. I can't remember either. But I remember that he just looked better overall. So if he still has the beard, it's blended in with the hair better.
All right. Well, that's maybe why I didn't notice, because if the chin strap was gone, he probably looked better, and he didn't look as goofy as he used to. That's probably why I didn't notice.
The hair looked way less goofy.
All right. We go into this next match, and we have Hiroki Goto versus Kenta. So we have Kenta making his way back to Japan, and Kenta is out by himself, which I believe he was usually seconded by somebody from the Bullet Club, sometimes people, the guys from GOD, but of course they're not in Japan right now, so there's not much left of Bullet Club right now who isn't out of the country, so he was out there by himself. Kenta works over the arm and targets it on the outside, running Goto into the barricade, arm first. He hits a lot of kicks to the arm as well, and he really takes a lot of the first part of the match. We have a swinging, I don't know, over the top rope neck breaker, snap, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it was like a swinging DDT, but he went over the top rope and pulled Goto's head across the top rope. Normally, it would have ended in like a DDT type of move. Kenta goes for the game over submission, which is the omoplata crossface type of submission that he uses. But Goto is too close to the ropes, so he gets out of that. Goto then snaps Kenta's arm on the top rope and starts kicking the arm, puts him in an arm bar. So now they are both targeting each other's arms. Kenta gets the ropes to get out of the armbar attempt, and then Kenta hits a draping DDT, a stiff basement drop kick in the corner, and then does a top rope double stomp. Who basically just landed on Goto's arm. He kind of missed his torso completely. Gets a 2 count there. Kenta hits a psycho knee for a 2 count. Goto blocks a GTS and then counters a strike and then hits the Ushigoroshi. And then Kenta reverses out of a GTR attempt, locks in the game over. Goto is close to the ropes, but Kenta rolls him away and keeps the game over locked in, so Goto has to tap. Goto submitted. I have not seen that for quite some time.
Yeah, this was a strong match. Short, they only went a little over 7 minutes because the main event went very long. But strong, hard-hitting match. Kenta had his shitty red briefcase that he got for winning the New Japan Cup USA that guarantees him a U.S. title shot that I can't imagine he's ever going to get, because by like mid-January, it's going to be 6 months for Moxley defending the title, even not counting the pandemic months. So And just given the situation, I don't think that Moxley is going to be able to go to Japan anytime in the near future because of his AEW commitment. So don't know if that match is ever going to happen.
So I have a theory on this, and I think it could work. I think the stipulation of Moxley working for New Japan or really anybody in the US was contingent on them. He couldn't work anybody who had TV in the US. New Japan no longer has TV in the US. They're no longer on Access, which is the reason he couldn't be in the Dallas show because that was on Access. So now I guess technically he could go and do the show on NJPW Strong, filming over in LA, and he could
require Kenta to come back to the US.
Right. So we'll see how that goes, but it is possible. Well, Kenta can come back to the US. He doesn't need to. There's no restrictions on them coming back. It's going back to Japan. That's the problem.
Right, if it's more important to keep him in Japan.
Right. Or if they have a break where he can again and is willing to quarantine for 2 weeks again to come back to Japan. So it's a possibility. Same thing if, depending on how the schedule goes, Moxley could go to Japan and quarantine for 2 weeks because Dynamite's on a schedule of recording every 2 weeks. So if it worked out some way that they do a 3-week stint running into Christmas or something, they could have enough in the can to send him over and face, who knows? It's a possibility. There's logistics, but I'm hoping it happens. So I'm hoping Moxley can get back over there and defend the title. Or
Moxley sounds like a hell of a match to me. I hope it happens too.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see two ex-WWE guys, even though Kenta was barely a WWE guy anyways, but who have completely lost their their style of WWE wrestling and have gone back to what is actually fun to watch. So should be interesting. So that is what I think is the issue. I think that since New Japan no longer has television in the US, technically I think he would be allowed to work a taped show for New Japan World, because if he can do the shows on New Japan World anyways in Japan, and then what's the difference if it's taped? It's not like there's going to be fans in the US. So I'd say that'd probably work out. Or hell, they could do it in Canada. I don't know. Go to Abu Dhabi.
They won't let Americans into Canada right now because
that's true.
Our government, anyway.
So find somewhere, some neutral territory where they can both get to.
Some island in the Caribbean or something. Figure it out.
Get on a cruise ship, meet in the middle of the ocean in international waters, do the match, and part ways. Next up, we have Zack Sabre Jr. versus Evil with Dick Togo at ringside. Both of these guys have
Evil's best match this year, even counting his title reign.
Yes, this is
the Hiromu match, maybe. Match.
This was a good match for Evil. Both of these guys have been working since the beginning of June. They've both been in Japan, so at least they have no ring rust or anything like that. Dick Togo gets in Zack's face right away before the bell, pointing in his chest, and Zack Sabre punches him, and then the fight breaks out, and they go to the outside almost immediately. Zack Sabre Jr. gets sidewalk slammed on the floor, and then he takes a few boots from Togo while the ref is distracted by Evil. And then back in the ring, Zack gets thrown into a exposed turnbuckle after Dick Togo had removed the turnbuckle pad behind the ref's back. Red Shoes is as impotent as usual as Togo assists in a submission attempt with Evil. So he's like helping by pulling on Evil's arm to maintain or add pressure onto Zack. Typical Zack Sabre Jr. style match where they go through a bunch of submission holds. Zack gets this head of steam where he does the feet on either side of the guy's head, and he does the twist, snapping the neck, and then he did the same to the arm. He also set up his arm on it's kind of twisting it around and stomping on it. And then, of course, they bump Red Shoes when Red Shoes gets squashed between the exposed turnbuckle and Zack Sabre Jr. So, of course, we have Dick Togo running in. Him and Evil beat up Zack Sabre Jr. Eventually, the ref gets back in. Evil hits Darkness Falls. Zack Sabre Jr. kicks out at 2. And then Zack Sabre Jr. reverses and Everything is Evil into a bridge pin and gets the 3 count. And he continues his winning ways over Evil as Evil just cannot figure out the puzzle that is Zack Sabre Jr.
See, I forgot that was a thing when I booked it. I thought for sure that Evil was going to win this. And like, this was the most surprising result of either of the 2 shows to me. Just the way, with Evil getting the big push this year. But Evil is, if you've watched every G1 the past several years, Evil is really, really great in the big match when he wants to be. And it didn't come out in the title reign. The title reign was a flop in terms of business. But man, here he is back here with Zack, and he's having a phenomenal match, which, it's Zack, and they work really well together. But yeah, Zack with the European clutch that he can pin anybody with. Very strong match here.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of Zack Sabre Jr. matches. He always pulls out all these interesting sequences. He just ties people up in random ways because he's so long and lanky. I believe he's also a vegan, so that probably helps. But yeah, he comes up with this strangest ways to tie people up, and it's always a pretty safe style. So he could do this until he's 90 years old at the style that he wrestles. He takes very little damage as well. I think the worst was he took a superplex, and that was about it. And the sidewalk slam on the mats on the floor. But yeah, other than that, he doesn't take a ton of bumps, and it's mostly just rolling around and trying to submit people. So his style is always fun to watch, especially when he's working with somebody who can also match his style. And even when there's a clash of styles, it works out because people cannot figure out what he's supposed to be doing. So he just makes them look like idiots, and that works out too. So it's always fun to watch.
Remember Zack and Fale last year? Like,
I don't remember that particularly.
I just remember it was because of the exact reason you're talking about, just because Zack is so innovative and interesting. Like, he's just did all kinds of, but Zack is phenomenal. Like, he works a style that nobody that's in a major promotion with a lot of visibility in the West works, and he's the best at it. So yeah, this match was great. We're going to see a lot of great Zack matches. Man, Zack Sabre Jr. doesn't have bad matches, especially big singles.
Yeah, and I'm always looking forward to the Zack Sabre Sanada match. Those are always so good because Sanada can go move for move, even though he rarely uses it with other people. When he's in there with Zack Sabre Jr., they can go for like 10 minutes just exchanging holds, and it is awesome every time. So I'm looking forward to when that block match happens because those are always good.
I was at their match in Dallas last year, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah. And then we move on to the final match of the evening that went about 27 minutes or so, something like that. And these are the 2 heavy hitters of the block. Starting out against each other, we have the double champion, the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Champion Tetsuya Naito, taking on the ace in the B block, Hiroshi Tanahashi, which he has not been in the B block since who knows when, like 12, 13 years, something like that. Lots of back and forth at the beginning until Tanahashi attacks Naito's knee. They both have knee problems, so of course this looked like it was probably going to be a method of attack at some point. They fight on the outside for a bit. Tanahashi gets run into the barricades a couple of times. He has to answer a 20 count. And then Naito goes to work when Tanahashi gets back in the ring. They continue the back and forth throughout this entire match. Tanahashi goes back to working over Naito's knee. He does a high crossbody from the top rope to the floor, which actually looked probably like the softest landing he's ever had in one of those. He did not crash and burn. Naito caught him fully, and they both, it kind of like slow-mo down to the nice soft catch there. Goes back, continues working on the knee. Tanahashi rolls through a top rope hurricanrana from Naito for a very close pin attempt. He works over the knee some more, puts on the Texas Cloverleaf at a super high angle. I almost thought he was going to submit Naito here. He puts it on, but eventually Naito does get to the ropes to break it up. Naito works on a comeback. He reverses some kind of slam into a Destino-like move, and we get a double down here. And then they come up throwing hands. They forearm the crap out of each other. Not as strong as Naito and Ishii, not as strong as Suzuki and Ishii, but they were throwing some bombs here. Naito drops Tanahashi with 3 rounds of elbows. So he elbows him 3 times, and Tanahashi drops. Naito pulls him back up, hits 3 more, and he drops. Pulls him up again, hits 3 more, and he drops. So he is just wearing down the ace, and Naito hits Gloria for a near fall. Tanahashi gets out of a Destino attempt and hits 3 twist and shouts in a row. Hits 2 wicked sling blades. Oh my god, he does the best sling blade, because he actually catches the person's chin and pulls them to the ground. Definitely the best sling blade in the business, I think. And this is right at the 25-minute mark announcement. Tanahashi hits aces high, but Naito rolls out of the way of the high-fi flow. Naito hits a Destino. It's kind of sloppy. I think they had a bit of a timing issue here for a near fall. And so Naito hits a snowplow and then hits another Destino, which again, they kind of messed up the timing of, but he picks up the victory. So Tetsuya Naito wins over the ace Tanahashi in night 1.
This match was 27 minutes of Hiroshi Tanahashi saying, I'm still the best in the world for as long as I say I am, and don't you forget it. This match was awesome. I was terrified when he was about to do the high fly flow from the top rope to the floor, but they landed well. The reason that Tanahashi Sling Blade is the best, because the Sling Blade is his move. I don't know if he invented it, but he's the one that popularized it. So everybody that you see doing the Sling Blade, they saw Tanahashi do it.
Yeah, Prince Devitt, a.k.a. Finn Balor, you need to take a lesson from how you deliver the Sling Blade, because his looks so weak.
I'm sure that's who he learned it from, so right? I don't know why he doesn't do it better. But yeah, this match was awesome. Everybody's doubting Tanahashi, that he's over the hill. He doesn't have the knees anymore. But when it counts, see why he is the best performer of the past decade.
One thing I did notice in this match, there were almost no spots where Tanahashi had to run. There were no Irish whips into the corner or into the ropes, because he just can't do it. His knees just can't do it. I saw him live last October, and he has a horrible hitch in his giddy up. So he just cannot run, and they worked around that. The only time he got whipped into the corner, he only had a 2-step into the corner, so there was no running the ropes, no leapfrogs or drop downs or anything like that. So he didn't have to run. That is the exact style you need to work with Tanahashi, just because he cannot maintain any speed. Anytime that there were any of those spots, it was Naito doing the running because he's still quick, even though his knees are bothering him. I don't know if he just plays through the pain or his knees aren't as bad, of course. I think he carries a little less weight on his frame as well compared to Tanahashi, so that might help a bit as well. But this match was awesome. 27 minutes. I almost thought it was going to go into a draw. That probably wouldn't have been a bad idea, but here we have Naito moving on and dashing Tanahashi's hopes of getting a quick title shot by beating Naito in the G1, which that usually leads to a title shot. If you beat a champion in the G1, you're usually going to have a title shot on the road to Wrestle Kingdom. So unfortunately, Tanahashi will not be getting one this year, and his only hope is to win the G1 to get a title shot anytime in the near future.
Yeah, so I think the best review that I read of the show came from old-time indie wrestler Grant Akuma, who I follow on Twitter because he's a very entertaining wrestling takes guy. His review was, and I quote, "Apologize to B Block."
Why?
Because there's always the A block is always the super stacked one, and this B block is the also ran, and this was just phenomenal show with several really great matches. But B block delivered big time.
I love this B block. I love everybody who's in this B block. Yeah,
so do I. But,
It's not the biggest of the star power blocks, but as far as quality of the wrestling goes, all of them are fine. I think the lowest two on the pedestal of quality, surprisingly, is going to be Evil and Yano.
Just as far as it's the block that you expect less from, and
yeah, I don't have a problem with how everybody stacks up in both blocks. It's going to be, I think this is going to be a very good, I think they're equal. Looking at who's in each block, I think they're of equal levels of talent on each side. So I'm looking forward to how this G1 goes. We have the first two nights in the can. The night 3 starts in about 8 hours from when we are recording this. And I'm not working tomorrow, so I'm actually going to be able to watch it at least early in the morning. I'm not going to watch it live because I'm not going to drag my ass out of the bed at that early. But
yeah, I've got it at 4:30 a.m. my time, so I'll probably wait until I wake up.
Yeah. So yeah, how do you think this is shaping up so far with the first 2 nights?
The past few years of the G1, they've been raising the bar every year. The past several years, each has been the greatest tournament ever. This, I don't believe, is going to be that just because of circumstances. That you don't have the same kind of hot crowds because people can't make the noise.
Yeah, that was one thing that really, when Evil and Dick Togo were beating on Zack Sabre Jr. with the ref being knocked down, nobody was making a sound because they're like, well, we don't want to clap because that shows appreciation. How do you show disapproval with noise when you can't vocalize something?
That was why they tried to do the app thing that I guess they gave up on.
Yeah, that was kind of weak though too.
But yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's not gonna be the greatest tournament ever. This is kind of gonna be a little bit of a holding pattern G1. Like this is the first G1 that there are no first time participants in the G1.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this is kind of a placeholder. I think Wrestle Kingdom. Not that Wrestle Kingdom isn't going to be great, but it's not going to be, the thing that it's become every year because it's not. They're not going to be able to put that many fans, even in January. They won't be able to put, fill the Tokyo Dome, but they can, with the doing social distancing. They're going to draw what they're going to draw. So, Gato's going to. If Gato is able to stick to whatever his plans were, if they're not, disrupted by not being able to get people in, Gato was going to stick to his plan because that's what he does. But I don't anticipate this being, something that people are... I am anticipating that people are going to complain about the quality of this period because they're so used to that very high quality New Japan. But if you're just looking for good wrestling and you're not just looking for something to complain about and a reason to criticize, we're going to have a very fun next several weeks ahead of us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see this being of lower quality than 2016, 2017. So I think this is definitely going to be a solid year. So we'll see. We do have a lot of second timers this year, though. So we have Jeff Cobb, he's second time. Will Ospreay, he's second. Jay White, I think it's his second. Shingo is
at least 3.
What has he been? 3.
Shingo second.
Shingo second, yeah, and then
I think this is only Yoshi-Hashi's second. Am I wrong?
Maybe it's definitely Kenta's second because he was in just last year. That was his first one, and yeah, so we have quite a few second timers, no first timers as you mentioned, but yeah, and then we have some old hats at this thing. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't see it as being any detriment to quality that will be this year. I think we should have a pretty solid year. Yeah, it's going to be on the higher end of all of the tournaments that have happened. I don't think it's going to be below average. It's definitely, I think it's still going to be on the higher end of quality. So we should be okay.
I'm sure that it'll be better than okay.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to contribute before we wrap it up here?
No, I don't guess.
All right, cool. Well, let people know where they can find you.
OutlawWrestlingReview.com, Twitter at @abadhistorian, and yeah.
Link is in the show notes and descriptions for that. Are you coming back for AEW on Thursday?
Absolutely.
All right. So I guess you're going to be the constant for a while until DC happens to get back if he comes back, but we will see.
Stop being here.
Thanks for joining me. Thanks for everybody for watching and listening. If you are checking this out as a podcast, we do this show live over on YouTube, so you can see our pretty faces. Be sure to hit the bell notification, especially for New Japan stuff, because that will let you know as soon as I schedule a live stream. I try to do them ahead of time, but I think I was only a half hour ahead of time. Usually I try a couple days ahead of time when I can. Let's see what else. Head over to iTunes, drop us a review, helps us out. And if you have any comments, questions, feedback, all that fun mailbag stuff, send that to eric@thatswrestling.com. Also, there's a Discord server. You can come hang out with us as well in the show notes and description. So thanks for joining, everybody. For Trae, Wisecarver, my name is Eric LaRoche, and you've been watching That's Wrestling. See you later, guys.
Bye.